Hi everyone, and welcome to an episode of Flawless. My name is Micah and I'm your host. So before we get started with today's episode, I wanted to talk a little bit more about who I am and why I started this podcast. Basically, ever since I was 13 years old, I knew that I wanted to be a lawyer. And now, as a sophomore in high school, I find myself doing everything I can to learn more about the field of law. But growing up in a family without any lawyers, I've had to rely on things like books, websites, and movies. But at the end of the day, I've learned that talking to a real-life lawyer is something completely different. Hearing first-hand experiences from someone who's already walked the path is so essential in learning about the field that you want to pursue, so in my case, law. This realization has led me to create Flawless, Female Lawyer Lessons. Here in Flawless, I aim to inspire those just like me, individuals who aspire to be a lawyer. In Flawless, I also aim to amplify the voices of female lawyers who go through a male-dominated field. So, together, I hope we can learn more about the advice, the strengths, and the challenges that female lawyers face. And without further ado, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Flawless. So, our guest today is a literal titan in the Philippine legal landscape because she did not just pass the bar in the Philippines, she was top number one. I think it was in 2005.
That's right.
Yeah. So you currently teach and you went to UP and I think you went to NYU as well.
That's right.
So that's amazing. And right now you serve as the Chief
Legal Counsel of PLDT.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a telco.
Amazing. In fact, that's the Wi-Fi we're using right now. Welcome. Do you want to introduce yourself quickly?
Okay, hello. My name is Joanne, and I'm a lawyer by profession, and I'm now in-house counsel for PLDT, which is a telco in the Philippines. I am a wife and a mother of 4 kids. So on top of the work, there's also the home life. Very
Amazing,
fun.
yeah.
Very fun, yeah.
So now that we know a little bit about you, I want to start back a few years ago.
Sure.
So kind of like the main purpose for me, as this is directed towards high schoolers, can you tell me a little bit about your high school life? And
Okay.
let's
So
start there.
I actually was in an all-girls high school. It's called St. Theresa's College, a Catholic school in Quezon City. And in high school, I kind of already knew that I wanted to become a lawyer. My dad, he's passed away now, but he was a lawyer. And he was a lot older, meaning when he was 55, that's when he had me. And so there was a period of time that he was already retired. And so I had so much time spent with him. And because I really saw him growing up more than my mom, who was the one working, I really was immersed in the world of lawyering. But I always wanted to get, all the information about politics, current events, and I really loved talking. And so in high school, I joined the debate team. And that's when I realized, okay, I have a knack for arguing and winning arguments. And so I decided, okay, I may want to take up law in law school in the Philippines. So after graduating from high school, I went to Ateneo, took up legal management, which was a course that I thought would help me decide if law was for me. There was no commitment because there's the legal part and the management part. And if I decided maybe law's not for me, then I can still continue the business track. So there, so when I was in college, I realized law was really for me because I had straight A's in all the law subjects and B's in the management subjects. That's why I couldn't even get a cum laude honor in college because I really couldn't make sense of accounting or marketing or finance. My brain wasn't really functioning well when it came to those subjects. But for the law subjects, I was happy, I was thriving, I was just fully engaged. And so, yeah, I think from high school to college, that's when I really prove to myself that law was the path for me.
Aside from like the academics part and succeeding a lot in the legal side of academics, was there like another moment or a lesson that you learned in college that showed you law as what I want to pursue?
Sure. I was also a debater in college, and when I meant debate, meaning I competed against the world's best in different tournaments around the world.
Wow.
And that's when I realized, like, the Filipino, you don't even have to be a lawyer, the Filipino really can do well in the world stage. We did not win the big awards. Now we are. Ateneo's winning the big awards in World's Debate Championships. But at that time, as the pioneers, I thought, we have a point of view and we have something to say. We did not have at our disposal smartphones, an iPad. We did research the old school way, Time Magazine, The Economist. But I thought, we have a shot at being world class. And to me, that's something that I learned because I was competing against the big name universities and I was holding my own. I won some, I lost some, but the values that I learned from there, like working hard, being part of a team, those were priceless. And going into law school, I did end up choosing UP or the University of the Philippines for law. I brought that with me. So even though I wasn't cum laude standing in college, I was more average. I entered law school with that confidence that I can hold my own against the best. And so, as luck would have it, in law school, I was, classmates with summa cum laudes, magna cum laudes. And I'm like, hi, I'm Joanne, I'm average. But I thought that, I was able to hold my own because I had that confidence coming from college. So, yeah, I mean, what's the lesson there? Well, just find what you're good at and just work hard at it. And yeah, that's what I did in law school.
Was there something... Oh, so this is before law school, but when you went to law school, what was your journey from there? And maybe was there things that you specifically struggled with or enjoyed with the most in law school? Okay, so law school for me was at the beginning a mixed bag because I came from Ateneo and it was UP, it's a public school. And so they had some ideas of what a typical Atenean was, and I couldn't quite fit the mold. Because they thought Ateneans are rich, etc. They put it in a box. And then also my surname, de Venecia. At the time, my uncle was the Speaker of the House of Representatives. And so they had preconceived notions that, she's a rich kid and, she's Nepo baby is what we now call it, right? But then I had to work hard to gain their trust and to gain their respect. Because I didn't want handouts. In fact, quite the opposite. The professors were harder on me because of my surname. So that was a lesson early on, is to really give them no choice but to give me the high grade. I worked hard, put in the hours, studied until late at night, made it a point to be generous with my classmates for all the things that I was prepared to do, like note-taking, digest is what we call it, the summary of the cases. I gave it all to my classmates. I really just wanted to show that I deserve a spot here in UP, that I wasn't taking it away from someone more deserving. So that was tough because as I was 20 years old, 21 years old. And there I was navigating that type of how to fit into a very different cultural context. But like I said earlier, I came prepared with the confidence that I had from college, with the idea that I can be part of the best pool of students. And so from an average honorable mention, graduating from college, when I was in third year, I was just called by the dean and I was told I'm already number 1 in the class. Wow.
Because you don't really know your rank.
Oh, I see.
So you get your grades, sure, but you don't know how you're doing compared to others. So that was the first time that I was pleasantly shocked that my hard work paid off and that I managed to convince my professors to give me a grade high enough to rank number 1 in the batch. So since that time until the time that I graduated, I joined moot court competitions, which is a more civilized debate where you basically look like you're arguing in court. So it's more calm, more respectful, unlike debate where it's more aggressive. So I joined that. I made it a point to do extracurricular activities and was fortunate enough to hold that rank until I graduated. So yeah, it was to me a validation that, again, I didn't have the honors, the Latin honors, but law school was a fresh start, and my professors evidently saw something in me to give me the highest grades that were possible at the time. So yeah.
Must have felt incredible, all that hard work.
Yes, because, law school, you get feedback real time, right? There are recitations every class, and you get graded right then and there. You don't have to wait until the end of the semester to find out how you're doing. So that real-time loop of feedback and effort, it really validates you that you're doing the right thing. So in a sense, that's good, but also very humbling, because professors in law school are like gods, right? You can't tell them they're wrong. You can't reason out in a way that would offend them. So you're very careful to tread that line. So to me, it was a humbling experience because there were times I wasn't prepared. That's the truth. But I had to just, brush that aside and kind of push on because the readings are waiting. You can't crumble because you have to continue reading, being prepared for class. So it was tough, but I think the first 2 years are the toughest. Once you get a hold of or a hang of how it is to be prepared in law school, I think you're gonna feel better. It's not forever, the hard times.
So after going to law school in UP, you graduated from there with your law degree. But at one point, or how did you figure out what kind of law you wanted to go into?
Okay. Well, I had passion for 2 things, argumentation and international law. Because moot court really took me to different types of international law, applying public international law. So I did JESUP, which is a moot court competition on general international law, and then there is the international humanitarian law, which I did. It's the Jean Pictet Red Cross humanitarian law moot court in France, and then I also did international criminal law, which is hosted by the Japanese Ministry of Foreign Affairs Asia Cup in Tokyo, Japan. So those things really were interesting to me. The relationships among states, international organizations, and individuals under international law. So that was one. And then argumentation was important to me as well because I was a debater. I liked formulating theories, arguing it out, and I liked being in court. So litigation. So I joined a law firm, CSIP Salazar, Hernandez, and Gatmaytan, that specialized in full service law, but also litigation, arbitration. So I married those two. I did international litigation and international arbitration when I was in the law firm at CSIP.
Wait, so can you quickly define what arbitration, because I know what litigation is, but...
Arbitration is like you also have a plaintiff and a defendant, except that it's not before a judge, but before an arbitral tribunal, which is basically consent-based. Because if you go to court, whether you like it or not, like if a person sues you you go to court, right? You get issued summons. That's what you watch in Suits. But in arbitration, there is a contract that says, if we have a dispute in the future, let's go arbitrate before an impartial tribunal. It could be in the Philippines, it could be in Singapore, it could even be in the United States, before arbitrators. They're not judges, but we consent. We agree, the two of us, to bring a future dispute before an arbitral tribunal. So both kinds of cases, whether before a judge or before arbitrators, were handled in the law firm. So I was exposed from day one to those types of cases.
That's incredible. And then from there, what was your step after you starting at your law firm?
So I was 3 years in. I handled a very controversial criminal case involving U.S. Marines.
Wow.
Yes, so it was the Subic rape case. Filipina alleged that the U.S. Marines were involved in heinous crimes against her. We were counsel for one of the Marines. I was a young lawyer. It was really a tough time because I was the only woman in our legal team, and it was controversial because women's rights groups were on the case, like focusing on it, and they were saying, "Why are you defending?"
Yeah,
that's Americans.
That's so interesting.
Why are you defending the Americans against a Filipina?
Yeah.
And I did get death threats from that. There was a time, 2:30 a.m., because those were the hours when you were, a young lawyer. I was walking to my car, going to the parking lot. I got a text message saying, if you translate it to English, you watch your back because you never know if someone just decides to off you. It was 2:30 a.m.
Wow.
And I was like, how did they know that I was walking to my car? I was so paranoid. It was so scary. I told my bosses, and I thought that was unfair. I was doing my job. I was not committing any crimes. I was not doing anything illegal. I was defending my client to my utmost ability. And I was targeted, whereas my bosses, who were all males, were not. And so that to me was like a tough time, and I thought to myself, is this what I wanted? There was a time that I thought, why am I doing this? From a high of topping the bar exam to this, being attacked like this and being threatened with my personal safety. So after that case was done, our client was acquitted, and all the Marines actually were acquitted ultimately. So that was supposed to be a vindication, right? But it didn't quite go away, that uneasy feeling that maybe litigation is not for me, because why am I being threatened when I'm just doing my job? So I really thought long and hard about it. I didn't take on any more criminal cases like that. I thought, even though I felt that my client was innocent, right, of the crime of rape, I thought I was too young, right? I was 25 years old.
Not worth
and
it.
It's just like, it was so scary, right?
Yeah,
and
I can imagine.
I did focus on arbitration. I did focus on the other things that I can do. There was so much more to do anyway, and the office allowed me to explore other options. But then I decided to, maybe now it's time to apply for an LLM, Master's in Law. And so I applied for a Fulbright scholarship because I couldn't afford to do my LLM if I paid my way. So I applied for a Fulbright scholarship and I got it. And so the procedure is that you apply for the Fulbright scholarship, and then when you get it, or if you get it, then that's when you apply to the different law schools. So I did my research. I wanted international law. I wanted international arbitration. And I found out that NYU at the time, I haven't checked now, but at the time was #1 in international law. And so that was #1 on my list. I wanted to be in New York because that's where the United Nations is. So I also applied to Columbia, but NYU gave me a full tuition scholarship, and Columbia just gave me a partial scholarship, so it was a no-brainer. I decided to go to NYU, and then Fulbright took care of my living expenses, my books, my health insurance, my plane fare. So I honestly did not spend a lot of money, maybe just for my clothes because I didn't have winter clothes. I stayed put in New York. I didn't travel, unlike my classmates, because I didn't have that extra cash. So I just focused on studying, and I really, really enjoyed my time in New York. Luckily, I didn't have obligations at home, so I could just focus on studying when I was in New York. So that was an amazing time. I was 28 years old, and I absolutely loved the experience.
So when you say you went to NYU for international law, is that where you, because for me, I'm also interested in international law, but for the purpose of learning both common and civil law, so I can practice outside. Is that the same thing?
So no, this one is, so international law is public international law. It's the law among states.
I see, yeah.
So like you can look at, let's say, the United Nations and the Security Council, the World Order. You can look at trade law. You can look at Trump's tariffs. You know, all these things from the lens of international law or the work of specialized international organizations, the World Health Organization, the World Trade Organization. So these are the things that we tackled. And also international, discrete international law topics like human rights of women, or just and unjust wars. Like, when is war just? So it's a philosophical take on international. So very diverse, so much fun actually, and international arbitration as well, which I was already starting to do in the law firm. I got to apply. I met my professors who were either practitioners in New York law firms or working in the United Nations. So it was really, really fun.
I do know that, you know, coming from the Philippines and doing all your schooling here, it might have been a bit of a change to the environment in the U.S. Was there, like, what were kind of those changes? Were there any significant ones? And maybe, like, was your class diverse? Was it
super diverse?
So it was equal men and women?
Equal men and women. In fact, in the Philippines, actually, it's 70% women already. So that one was not so different. Yeah. So the ratio between men and women. What was different was how the students treated their professors, because here it was so differential. Like the professors, as I said, are gods. Yeah. In the United States, you can really talk to your professors, not like a peer, but more casual. I would say they encourage critical thought, critical thinking, and you can argue with them and it's okay. Yeah. Whereas here it's more, you look down. Hopefully they don't look at you if you're not prepared. But in the US, it's more freewheeling discussion, and you can email them anytime, walk with them while they're going to class, or hang out in the courtyard and wait for them. Then they can just talk to you. So it was a very nice experience, liberating, I thought, and just fun. That, in fact, even after my LLM, I could still email my professors. I saw one of them in an arbitration conference in Hong Kong, and we had a blast just catching up, talking about the class and how he was. So those are things that I'm grateful for. Very, very different from what I'm used to in the Philippines, for sure.
That's what I was thinking. And then after your time in New York, you came back to the Philippines to start practicing.
So
here.
I actually came back to the law firm. I went back to the law firm, but then I decided it's time for me to move on when I became a mom. So for a time, I was a single mom, and so I thought I wanted to spend a lot of time with my children, with my at that time with just my daughter. And the work in the law firm is grueling, really tough.
Yeah.
And, you know, I wanted to be home before the sun went down. And so there was a point that I decided maybe I should try to look for other jobs. It was a risk. And some of my bosses thought, oh, you're wasting your life, you know, you're wasting your career, you could be a partner in the law firm. But I had to do what I felt was best for my little family. And so I sent a text message to my former professor in UP, who was then the president, CEO of Pag-ibig Fund, which is GOCC, or a government-controlled corporation in the Philippines that's focused on affordable housing for Filipinos. And I asked her, is there an opening for me? And she replied instantly, and she said, actually there is, but it's not for lawyers. It is an opening for a public relations position. Are you open to take on something that's different? And I said yes, and I said yes, and that's the start of a different path for me. So I was the spokesperson for Pag-ibig Fund. I learned so much about how the government works. I met very hardworking professional people during my time in Pag-ibig Fund. It was, to me, very interesting and very fulfilling. But that was just for 2 years.
I see, yeah.
Because I felt like my calling is really in the private sector. I went back to the private sector, but this time, I was now in-house counsel. So my first stint before PLDT was as in-house counsel for a mining company called Philex Mining. Very different.
Yeah.
Outside my comfort zone. But again, I was fearless, right? I talked about confidence, being fearless. I accepted Pag-ibig Fund and learned on the job. I thought I could do that again.
So kind of pausing the career path, because you did talk about, you know, the struggles of being both a mom and a lawyer because of how demanding a lawyer is. And from all the other women that I've talked to who are also lawyers, like Emmeline Villar, and I've talked to a few ADB lawyers, they've all said the same thing about how you kind of have to pick, you know, if you want to work at law and, you know, give up that time of your life or spend it with family. So how did you balance that aside from like switching jobs?
Yeah, so more of just an acceptance within me, being at peace with the idea that a woman can have it all, but maybe not all at the same time.
Yeah.
Because once I actually accepted that part, I was at peace with my decision to leave the law firm and do something different. The crucial thing was that I never stopped learning. So when I moved to Pag-ibig Fund, I soaked in all the knowledge that I could from my time in government. And then when my baby was a bit bigger, I decided to move back to private sector, take on more legal work because I was missing it.
Yeah.
Because that was really my training. But now I had the ability now to face the media because that was my job. So it helped me also grow in my role because mining is a tough industry to be in. There's a lot of criticism. There are environmentalists, you know, or NGOs going after mining. So it was tough also, but I was able to do my job well because of, as luck would have it, my time in Pag-ibig Fund. And so when I moved to Philex Mining, I met my now husband. And by the time that I married him, I was already 37 years old. And people would say, oh, you're already old. But I had 3 more kids, from 38 years old to 41 years old.
Wow.
So timing, maybe it wasn't the perfect timing. Like maybe some people would say, you know, you squandered a lot of opportunities, or maybe you let go of a law firm job, being a partner in a law firm. But I felt like my path was unique and it was perfect for me. It wasn't in the time frame of others. Some would say I married too late, I had kids too late, but it was perfect for my timing. And that was all that mattered to me.
Yeah.
And now I have a loving home, I have 4 beautiful children, and I am able to be present to them. I am able to go to all their school activities, and I am able to be present to my teammates at work, to do my job. So I really am blessed to have the life that I have. But as I said, if you look at my trajectory, right, there were a lot of hardships along the way, a lot of detours. But even those pauses, those detours, really, you know, in retrospect, like 2020 hindsight, really prepared me for my current role. So no regrets, and I'm just happy to be where I am.
That's incredible. You did mention that, you know, working at the mining company, it did come with its challenges.
Yes.
Were any of those, you know, challenges because being a woman in a male-dominated industry?
Sure.
And what was it like being a woman working in law at that point of your life?
Well, okay, so I was surrounded by miners, and it was a tough, labor-intensive job, and I had to talk to them. We had a robust union in Felix Mining. But, you know, it's just really about caring for people and truly understanding what they're about. So at the end of the day, I'm not any better than them. I'm their coworker. And that's different from being in a law firm. Because if you are in-house counsel, you are a co-worker of your clients. As opposed to if you're in a law firm, you can sleep and forget about them because they're not related to you, right? But as an in-house counsel, you have to care. You have to care about the business. You want to make sure it does well. You want to make sure that the lights are still on, that you're not closed down, that, you know, your co-workers keep their jobs. But at the same time, there are difficulties with managing the workforce. And so you also have to keep your distance because there are decisions that you have to make. I was part of the management committee, I was part of the leadership team that may impact their roles, their livelihood. So it was a tough balancing act, but if you know how to genuinely work with people, care about them, and, you know, just do the straight and narrow, I think you can perform at a high level without burning bridges or without sacrificing relationships, I think.
Yeah, that's really impactful. I think that's really true. So after working in-house for the mining company, when did you decide it was time to go to PLDT? Or was that right before PLDT?
Yes, so it was in 2019, right before the COVID-19 pandemic, that I moved to PLDT, which is also part of the MVP group of companies. So I was honored to be invited to join PLDT, and since it's a sister company, in a way, you know, the transition was not so difficult, and it was, to me, a blessing to be part of an organization that is turning 100 years old in 2 years.
Wow.
So the history, the legacy of PLDT, the telco for the Filipino, I think that was something that excited me. And so I am now on my 7th year in PLDT, and I'm enjoying the work. It's challenging, but our industry is tech, so it's fun. We're immersed now in AI. We're doing a lot of revolutionary things We're looking at laser technology as the next big thing. So we're at the frontier of technological evolution, and it's exciting, right? We have satellite technology, we have maybe 6G, 7G, I don't know, right? So as a woman in tech, that is exciting, and keeping abreast of all these new innovations in the field of telecommunications and adjacent industries like data science and app development even. To me, it's fun, right? Not every lawyer gets to have the chance to do something at a high level for a Filipino corporation. So I think that's I'm
also
lucky.
It's really inspiring to me because for a while now, I think that I've really settled on what type of law I want to go to. So I want to go into IP law.
Okay.
Which I guess is kind of the same, you know, because I've learned, again, from talking to a couple lawyers, talking with my family, AI is like taking over so many jobs around the world, but I feel that, you know, IP is kind of that intersection between law and like the evolving technologies. But that's really inspiring, and it's so great. I think like PLDT is such, when I saw that, I was like, that's so incredible and cool, because, you know, it's Wi-Fi is like something that we don't realize is like we rely on, you know. When my Wi-Fi goes out, it's like the end of the world for me.
You freak out, right? Because I think we are now, and COVID-19 accelerated it, right? We are now at that age where, or that era where internet has become a basic human right.
Yeah.
Before, you can do without it. I mean, I lived half my life without internet, but now I cannot function without my phone. Everything's here. Banking, right?
Yeah.
And you know, all the work that I do, I can take a meeting from anywhere in the world, whatever time zone. You don't have to travel anymore for these things. And so a lot of the conveniences that we experience right now is because of the internet. And to be in a company that enables that, to be in a company that provides that very crucial, basic human right, I think, is such a joy and such an honor. So to me, it's great. But of course, you talk about intersections, right? I think part of the advocacy that I have now is this idea of the attorney plus, where we're not just lawyers, we're business enablers, where we do things as not just as a compliance measure, but not just as a checklist, like, did you do this? Did you not do this? Is it legal? Is it not? No, we're lawyers. We are actually partners of the business. That's the mindset that I'm trying to instill in my team. I have 30 lawyers with me in the team.
Wow.
That's the kind of attorney plus mindset that I'm advocating right now. And I'm grateful again to my company because they actually invested in my education. In 2024, they sent me to Wharton for the advanced management program. And I was the only lawyer in my cohort.
Wow.
But I met a lot of PhDs doing important AI work, and they're 22 years old. I'm learning from these young ones.
Yeah.
They're super, super impressive, and we were the older ones listening to them, feeling like fossils. But it was, to me, a time of, you know, a lot of learning. So yeah, learning never stops. I'm 45 now, and I just feel like, you know, the best is yet to come.
Yeah.
Even not just for my career, but also for the field I'm in, for lawyering in general. Yeah, it's great.
It's truly really inspiring, and it's great to hear, you know, how much you've developed with your company and how you're looking towards the future. Maybe what is the biggest lesson that you wish a woman my age, or for example like me, who wants to pursue law, should consider? Any advice or, you know, things like that?
You know, I have some classmates who ended up deciding law was not for them. But the only way that they could conclude that was because they tried. I don't think that the law or the legal profession is for everybody. There are certain people who would think the law is a waste of time, or taking up law is a waste of time. And there's a path for each one of us. But if you are thinking of becoming a lawyer, and if you have the means to do so, if you have the time and the resources, the energy to do so, try. Because you'll never really know if the legal profession is for you unless you try. And that goes for anything else in life. But don't knock it out until you've tried it. And if, like you kind of already have a sense that lawyering might be for you, I say do it, right? You might not be the best in everything. You might not be stellar in your class. Like me, I wasn't the best student in grade school, in high school, in college even. But I somehow became the best student in law school. And why? Because I wanted to be the best that I could be. So try, and if it's not for you, that's okay too. Because whatever you learn in law school, maybe the first 2 years, you leave after, you'll take with you in business, in running your business, in if you want to be employed. All the learnings that you get from lawyering, you will guaranteed be able to apply to real life.
Yeah.
Because law
Exactly.
is really real life in action. So, no regrets, I think, whether you continue or you stop, but please try. That's it.
That's great advice. And going back into that last point about how you can apply law to everything in life after.
Yes.
I remember my mom was like really asking me if I was sure if law is what I wanted to pursue, because my mom is she runs our family business, so
Okay.
she's more into we have a furniture business, and she said, why don't you do entrepreneurship, or why don't you do business instead? And I said to her, I want to pursue law because I feel that law gives you the foundation and the skills that are necessary for if I do want to pursue business in the future, at least I have a legal background. At least I know
That's true.
What to expect and what's right and how to communicate well. But I think, as we are going to the end of our conversation, my last question was, have you ever been in a legal situation where you felt overwhelmed? But I feel we've touched on that in the
Maybe when I
Subic.
was younger,
Yeah.
right? In the Subic rape case.
Yeah.
That was, I still feel a little traumatized. And I'm 45 and I've hurdled that. That was really, really tough. But, it didn't kill me.
Yeah.
It made me stronger. So, I just try to forget that, and I just hold on to that piece of decision from the Court of Appeals. 3 women justices of the Court of Appeals acquitted our client. And they said that there was no rape. And to me, that's the clearest vindication. Because even if a crime was indeed committed, every accused is entitled to legal representation. And no lawyer should be shamed for defending the accused. I learned that from the practice, this old legal drama that I used to watch when I was young. Because every person is entitled to legal representation. For as long as you don't violate the law or tell your client to violate the law, then that client is entitled to the best defense. But not only that, we shouldn't prejudge. An accused is just that, an accused. Innocent until proven guilty. And so in that case of the Subic rape case, everyone just presumed U.S. Marines guilty. Why? Why is there such a jump in logic? And I would advocate for calm and sobriety. Like, just please, let's look at the evidence. Let's not jump to conclusions. And every lawyer worth their salt would advocate for that. Let the evidence speak. Let's not prejudge. Because, heaven forbid, the time comes, your family member becomes an accused.
Yeah.
Someone you love. Don't you want them to get the best legal representation? And don't you want them to have their day in court without judgment from people? So, to me, that was the biggest lesson. And I take that to this day. So, when I see something in the news, sensationalized, I just take a step back. And I just, let the chips fall where they may. I follow the evidence. I watch intently, but I don't make snap judgments, because that's something that I learned from all my years, 20 years now, being a lawyer, is to never prejudge.
With our day and age, with all the social media going on, this seems like such an important lesson to so many of us.
For sure. I even moderate Facebook groups, would you believe? I moderate a Facebook group for lawyers, called Abogadong Pinoy. We're more than 20,000 lawyers now. And I moderate a fan group. I am a fan of BTS.
Oh, wow.
Don't judge me.
No.
Because I'm 45 and I fangirl with my daughter who's 13. But yeah, so I know social media and how you can destroy reputations on social media like overnight.
Exactly, yeah.
So I always advise caution and just, being calm and not engaging. Because I tell them, I'm so glad when I was 20 years old and doing crazy things because I was a foolish teenager, there was no internet. There's no proof of what I did when I was in Ateneo being a kid.
Yeah.
So, but now everything, right?
Everything is recorded, everything is...
I tell my daughter that.
Yeah.
I tell my son, just always be responsible for your social media presence.
Not only just social media, but I think going through high school these couple of years, I've learned that someone's always recording. It's so easy to whip out your phone and you have to watch it, even if you're with your friends, with people you think you trust. I've seen it in situations in my own school where their friends can switch on you really easily, and it's terrible. But I agree. I think your advice is really, really inspiring. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. And good luck to your YouTube channel.
Thank you.
Becoming a lawyer. Maybe we can still keep in touch.
Yes,
and
definitely.
Just tell me how your progress is.
Yeah, I will. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Thank you again for coming. And it was a great conversation. And it's like conversations like these where when I first, look you up or do some research, I never see the stories of the Subic case or the steps I get there and kind of what makes you to the lawyer you are today. It gives you the start to the end and not what's in the middle. And I think that's the most important part. Yeah.
The hard work is in the middle.
Yeah.
I think.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.